A lonely mother takes her daughter to a fancy wedding. The girl points at the groom and shouts, "Dad!" Hello, let's start another beautiful story. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Let's go. The autumn sun filtered through the tall windows of Le Petit Jardin, casting long shadows across the pristine white tablecloths. Amara Johnson's fingers traced the edge of a crystal wine glass as she arranged place settings for what seemed like the 100th time that morning. The restaurant's usual elegant atmosphere felt different today, heavier, charged with an electricity that made her skin prickle. "Mama, can I help?" Lily's small voice carried across the empty dining room. She sat at the bar counter, swinging. Her school backpack still strapped to her shoulders. The morning light caught the amber highlights in her curly hair, so like Amara's own. "Baby, you know you can't touch the settings," Amara replied, softening her words with a smile. "But you can keep me company while I work. How about telling me what you learned in school yesterday?" Lily launched into an animated description of her science project about butterflies, her hands dancing through the air as she spoke. Amara listened with half an ear, her attention drawn to the constant stream of workers flowing through the restaurant's doors. Florists carrying massive arrangements of white roses and baby's breath. Decorators with bolts of silk and tulle, all for the Carter Dawson wedding, the social event of the season, according to every magazine and newspaper in New York. The name Carter still made her heart skip a beat, even after all these years. Adam Carter. She'd managed to avoid thinking about him most days, throwing herself into work and motherhood with single-minded determination. But now his presence seemed to fill every corner of the restaurant, even though the wedding was still hours away. "Miss Johnson?" Marcus, the restaurant manager, appeared at her elbow. "We need to review the service schedule for today. The wedding party wants everything perfect." Amara nodded, reaching for her notepad. "Of course. Lily, honey, why don't you start on your homework?" As she followed Marcus to his office, Amara caught sight of her reflection in one of the mirrors lining the wall. At 32, she still turned heads. Her deep brown skin glowed with health, and years of carrying heavy trays had kept her figure trim. But there were fine lines around her eyes now, testimony to 6 years of single motherhood, of working double shifts and worrying about bills. The meeting with Marcus dragged on, going over every minute detail of the evening service. Amara's section would be at the far end of the dining room, away from the main wedding party. She'd volunteered for it, hoping to keep her distance from the celebration. But as she listened to Marcus describe the evening's timeline, a familiar voice drifted through the partially open door. "Want the champagne served immediately after the ceremony?" Amara's breath caught in her throat. That voice. Deeper, now perhaps, but unmistakable. Adam. She forced herself to stay focused on Marcus's words, even as memories flooded back. Adam's laugh in the summer twilight. The way his hands felt against her skin. The last time she saw him, standing in the rain outside her apartment building, promising to return from his business trip to London in just 2 weeks. He never came back. The meeting finally ended, and Amara slipped out of the office, keeping her head down. She made it halfway across the dining room before Lily's excited squeal made her head snap up. "Mama, look what I drew!" Lily held up a piece of paper, her face beaming with pride. But Amara's eyes were drawn past her daughter to the man who had just walked into the main dining area. Adam Carter stood frozen, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the controlled chaos of wedding preparation around him. He was still heartbreakingly handsome, tall and broad-shouldered, with warm brown skin a shade lighter than Amara's own. His eyes swept the room, taking in the decorations, and for a moment, Amara thought she might escape notice. Then Lily spoke. Again, her voice carrying in the sudden quiet. Is that the man getting married? He looks just like the prince in my drawing. Adam's head turned at the sound of the child's voice. His eyes met Amara's, and 6 years of carefully constructed walls crumbled in an instant. Recognition blazed across his face, followed quickly by confusion. His mouth opened slightly, forming the shape of her name, though no sound emerged. Amara grabbed Lily's hand, perhaps a bit too roughly. "Come on, baby. We need to get you to Mrs. Wilson's house." "But, Mama, I want to stay and watch the wedding, please." Lily's lower lip trembled. "You promised I could see the bride's dress." "Lily, not now." "Amara?" Adam's voice was rough with shock. He took a step toward them, his eyes moving between mother and daughter with growing intensity. Lily tugged free of Amara's grip, drawn by some inexplicable force toward the man she'd never met. Maybe it was the same force that had once pulled Amara toward him all those years ago. "Hi," Lily said brightly. "I'm Lily. Are you really a prince?" Adam's face drained of color as he looked at the little girl, really looked at her. Amara saw the moment it hit him. Lily had his eyes, the same warm honey brown that had once made Amara weak in the knees, the same slight dimple in her left cheek when she smiled. "No," he said softly, still staring at Lily. "No, I'm not a prince. He looked up at Amara, and the question in his eyes was like a physical blow. "How old are you, Lily?" Before Amara could stop her, Lily held up 6 fingers proudly. "I'm in 1st grade, and I'm learning about butterflies, and next week we're going to Miss Johnson." Marcus's voice cut through the moment like a knife. "The florist needs approval on the centerpiece placement." Amara seized the escape route. "Coming, Lily, we're leaving, now." But as she hurried away, pulling Lily with her, she could feel Adam's gaze burning into her back. The truth she'd kept hidden for 6 years was about to explode, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. In the staff room, Amara's hands shook as she gathered her things. She needed to get Lily to the babysitter and come back for her shift. She needed to pretend this was just another day. She needed... "Mama," Lily's small voice broke through her panic. "That man looked sad when he saw us. Why was he sad?" Amara knelt in front of her daughter, smoothing back the wild curls that never stayed in their barrettes. Sometimes grown-ups get sad about things that happened a long time ago. "Did you know him? From a long time ago?" "Yes, baby, I did." Amara's throat tightened. "And now we need to go, or I'll be late for work." As they left through the back door, Amara couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. The careful life she'd built, the walls she'd constructed to protect herself and Lily, it was all as fragile as the crystal glasses she'd been polishing that morning. And somewhere in the restaurant, Adam Carter was putting the pieces together, discovering a truth that would shatter more than just wine glasses before the day was done. Le Petit Jardin sparkled under crystal chandeliers, white roses and orchids transforming the restaurant into a wedding paradise. Amara stood at the back in her pressed black uniform, watching New York's elite fill the room. After Mrs. Wilson's migraine call, she'd had no choice but to bring Lily back, tucking her away in the kitchen with strict instructions to stay out of sight. Adam stood at the altar, his black tuxedo immaculate, but his posture tense. Their earlier encounter seemed to hover between them, unspoken questions filling the air. The string quartet began to play, and Emily Dawson appeared, resplendent in a designer gown that caught the light. As she glided down the aisle, Amara noticed Adam's eyes scanning the room, searching. The ceremony began, the officiant's words floating through the perfumed air. Then came the whisper that changed everything. "Mama!" Lily had snuck from the kitchen. "I need to use the bathroom." Before Amara could react, Lily's attention fixed on Adam. Something shifted in her daughter's expression, recognition blooming like a flower opening to the sun. "Wait," Lily said, her voice rising. That's... Lily, we need to go. But Amara's reach came too late. Lily broke free, running down the aisle. Dad! The word echoed through the sudden silence. Emily's bouquet hit the floor. Adam turned, his face draining of color as Lily crashed into his legs, hugging them tight. I knew it was you, Lily beamed, up at him. I saw your picture in Mama's old box, the one she keeps under her bed. You're my dad. The silence erupted into whispers and gasps. Emily stood frozen in white silk, staring at her fiancé and the little girl who shared his eyes. Adam? Her voice trembled. What is she talking about? But Adam was transfixed by Lily's face, seeing himself reflected in every feature. I'm sorry, Amara rushed forward. Lily, come here right now. Is it true? Adam's question cut deep. Amara, is she mine? Margaret Carter rose from her seat, face tight with controlled fury. Perhaps we should take this somewhere private. Emily, dear. No. Emily's voice hardened. I want to know right here. Adam? He knelt beside Lily, tuxedo brushing the floor. Hi, Lily. I'm Adam. I know, Lily smiled. You're my dad. I've been waiting to meet you forever. Adam touched her cheek with trembling fingers, then looked up at Amara. Tell me the truth. All of it. The truth? Emily laughed bitterly. You're standing at our wedding with your secret child. He didn't know, Amara said. I tried to tell him, but... Margaret stepped forward, heels clicking. This is clearly an attempt at extortion. Adam, don't let her manipulate you. Mrs. Carter. Amara's voice steadied. Would you like to tell your son about the letters I sent 6 years ago, or should I? The older woman's face flushed. Understanding dawned in Adam's eyes. Mother, he whispered. What did you do? I did what I had to, Margaret snapped. You were taking over the company. You couldn't afford a scandal with some waitress. Some waitress. Adam's voice rose. I loved her. And you... He looked at Lily. You kept my daughter from me? Emily stepped back. This can't be happening. 6 years, Adam said quietly. I've missed 6 years. I want to know everything, he told Amara. Every moment I missed. You can't be serious. Emily's voice cracked. We're getting married. No, Adam said softly. No, I don't think we are. The silence stretched like glass about to shatter. Lily held Adam's hand, smiling as if she'd found her missing piece. Margaret's voice cut through the tension. I suppose we should inform the guests that the wedding is cancelled. I'll do it. Emily turned to the crowd, head high. Thank you all for coming, but there will be no wedding today. She walked down the aisle, leaving her bouquet forgotten on the floor. As guests began to leave, Adam stepped toward Amara. We need to talk, all of us. Amara looked at her daughter, still clutching Adam's hand. 6 years of secrets, undone by a child's pure heart. Yes, she said, we do. The private dining room of Le Petit Jardin felt like a confessional. Crystal glasses sat untouched on the white tablecloth, catching the late afternoon light that streamed through tall windows. In the main restaurant, workers were already dismantling the elaborate wedding decorations. But here, time seemed suspended. Lily sat between Adam and Amara, happily devouring a plate of chocolate cake that Marcus had brought, his attempt at smoothing over an impossible situation. She swung her legs under the table, apparently untroubled by the tension that crackled between the adults. You look just like your picture, Lily said to Adam between bites. The one where you're smiling at the beach. Mama keeps it in her special box with my baby pictures. Adam's hands tightened around his water glass. You've seen pictures of me? Just a few. Mama doesn't like to look at them, but sometimes when she thinks I'm sleeping, she takes out the box and... Lily, Amara interrupted gently. Why don't you go ask Marcus if you can help roll the silverware? Just for a little while. Lily's face fell. But I want to stay with Dad. The word hung in the air. Adam drew in a sharp breath. and Amara saw him blink rapidly. "Please, baby, just for a few minutes. The grown-ups need to talk." After a moment's hesitation, Lily nodded. She slid off her chair, but paused by Adam's side. "You won't leave, will you? You'll still be here?" "I'm not going anywhere," Adam said, his voice rough with emotion. "I promise." They watched in silence as Lily skipped out of the room. As soon as the door closed behind her, Adam turned to Amara. "Why didn't you tell me?" The words burst from him like they'd been held back too long. 6 years, Amara. 6 years of my daughter's life gone. "I tried." Amara's voice cracked. "God, Adam, I tried everything. I called your office, but they said you were always in meetings. I wrote letters, which my mother intercepted." His jaw clenched. "But you could have tried harder. You knew where I worked, where I lived. I didn't just try once." Anger flared in Amara's chest. "For months I tried to reach you. Then one day your mother showed up at my apartment." Adam went still. "What?" "She said you were engaged to someone else, that you'd moved on and wanted nothing to do with your past mistakes. She showed me newspaper clippings of you with other women, told me you were climbing the corporate ladder and couldn't afford a scandal." Amara's hands trembled. "I was 26, scared and pregnant, and I believed her. You should have known better." But Adam's voice had lost its edge. "You should have known I wouldn't, that I could never..." "Could never what, Adam? Abandon someone?" "But you did. You went to London and never came back. Because my mother told me you'd moved away. She said you'd taken a job in California, that you didn't want me to contact you." He ran a hand through his hair, disheveling its perfect styling. "I was an idiot. I should have checked myself, should have pushed harder. But I thought you didn't want me anymore." Silence fell between them, heavy with years of misunderstandings and manipulations. "Tell me about her," Adam said finally. "Please. What was she like as a baby? When did she first walk? Talk?" Amara closed her eyes, memories washing over her. "She was born on October 12th at 3:17 in the morning. She didn't cry at first, just looked around the room with these huge, curious eyes. Your eyes." She opened her own, meeting his gaze. "She took her first steps at 9 months, right into a coffee table. Still has the tiniest scar on her forehead." "Here." Adam touched his own forehead, just at the hairline. "Yes. She said mama first, then book, not dada like most babies. She's always loved stories." Amara's throat tightened. "She started asking about you when she was 3. I told her you lived far away, that you couldn't be with us. I never said anything bad about you. I couldn't. Because you still loved me. It wasn't a question. Because she's half you," Amara corrected, but they both heard the evasion in her voice. She deserved to make up her own mind about her father. Adam stood abruptly, walking to the window. The setting sun painted his profile in gold and shadow. "I was going to call off the wedding," he said quietly. "What?" "Even before Lily. After seeing you today, I knew I couldn't go through with it. Emily and we made sense on paper, both from the right families, both understood the business world. But seeing you again..." He turned back to her. "It was like waking up from a 6-year sleep." "Adam, don't." Amara stood too, keeping the table between them. "This isn't about us. This is about Lily. It's about all of us." He took a step toward her. "My mother stole 6 years from us. 6 years of being a family." "We're not a family," Amara said sharply. "We're 2 people who share a child who's going to need both of us to be clear-headed about this." Before Adam could respond, the door opened and Lily bounded back in. "Marcus let me put all the spoons in their special holders, and he said..." She stopped, looking between them. "Are you fighting?" "No, baby." Amara forced a smile. "We're just talking about grown-up things." "About me?" Lily climbed back into her chair. About how we can be together now, because I was thinking Dad could come to my school play next week. I'm going to be a butterfly, and Mrs. Henderson said parents should sit in the front row and— Lily? Amara's heart ached at the hope in her daughter's voice. It's not that simple. Why not? Adam sat back down, his eyes never leaving Amara's face. Why can't it be that simple? Outside, the sun slipped below the horizon, leaving the room in twilight. Somewhere in the restaurant, crystal glasses clinked as workers cleared away the remnants of a wedding that would never happen. And in this room, 3 people sat on the edge of something new and terrifying and possibly wonderful. Because, Amara said softly, nothing worth having ever is. The Carter mansion loomed against the darkening sky, its white columns and manicured lawns, a monument to old money and carefully preserved appearances. Adam sat in his car, still wearing his wedding tuxedo, staring at the house where he'd grown up, where 6 years ago letters from Amara had arrived, letters he'd never seen. His phone buzzed again. Another message from Emily, joining the dozens he hadn't answered. The only text he'd responded to was Amara's, sent an hour ago with Lily's school address and the time of next week's play. She'd added, "No pressure. She'll understand if you need time." But time was exactly what he'd lost too much of already. The front door opened before he reached it, Margaret Carter standing in the warm light of the foyer. She'd changed out of her wedding outfit into one of her signature tailored suits, her silver hair perfectly coiffed despite the day's chaos. "I wondered when you'd arrive." Her voice was steady, controlled. "Come into the study. I've poured us both a drink." "I don't want a drink, Mother." But he followed her anyway, through the familiar halls lined with family portraits. His own graduation photo smiled down at him, young, confident, unknowingly about to become a father. The study was exactly as he remembered. Leather-bound books, the heavy mahogany desk, the smell of lemon polish and old papers. Margaret handed him a crystal tumbler of scotch. "Sit down, Adam. Let's discuss this rationally." Rationally? He set the untouched drink down with a sharp click. "Like how you rationally decided to hide my child from me." "I protected you." Margaret's perfectly lined lips tightened. "That girl, her name is Amara, and my daughter's name is Lily. That woman," Margaret continued as if he hadn't spoken, "would have ruined everything we'd built. The company was just recovering from the recession. The board was watching your every move. A scandal with a waitress, an illegitimate child." "Stop!" Adam's voice cracked like a whip. "Where are the letters?" Something flickered in Margaret's eyes. "What letters?" "Don't." He stepped closer to her desk. "Don't lie to me. Not anymore. Amara's letters. The ones she sent 6 years ago. Where are they?" Margaret set down her own drink, her diamond rings catching the light. "I did what any mother would do. I protected my son's future. By lying to me? By keeping my daughter from me?" The control in his voice slipped. "Where are they?" She opened a drawer, removing a bundle of envelopes tied with faded blue ribbon. "I kept them. I knew someday you might—" Adam snatched them before she could finish. The first envelope bore Amara's familiar handwriting, the paper soft with age. His hands shook as he opened it. "Dear Adam, I've been trying to reach you. There's something you need to know. Something important. I'm pregnant." He sank into a chair, reading words written 6 years too late. Amara's hopes, her fears, her gradually fading belief that he would respond. The last letter was shorter, written in a shaky hand. "I won't write again. Your mother made it clear you've moved on. Maybe she's right. Maybe this is better for everyone. But if you ever read this, know that I loved you, and your child will too. You had no right," his voice was raw, "no right to make these decisions for me." "I had every right." Margaret stood straighter. "I'm your mother. Everything I've done has been to protect you, to ensure your success. Look at where you are now. Vice president of the company, respected in the business world. And I missed my daughter's first steps, her first words, her first day of school. He stood, the letters clutched in his hand. Did you ever think that maybe success meant nothing without... He stopped, running a hand over his face. The company announcement about the merger next week. Cancel it. What? Adam, you can't be serious. This merger has been in the works for months. The Dawson family... The Dawsons? He laughed bitterly. You think they still want to merge companies after I left their daughter at the altar? Cancel it. Cancel everything. Don't throw away your future over some misplaced guilt. Margaret's composure finally cracked. That girl manipulated you then, and she's manipulating you now, using that child to... That child? Adam's voice rose. That child is your granddaughter, your flesh and blood, who you denied the chance to know her family, her heritage. Everything you claim is so important to the Carter name. I did what I had to do. No. Adam moved to the door. You did what you wanted to do, what gave you the most control, but it's over now. Where are you going? To call Emily, to formally apologize, though God knows nothing I say will be enough. He paused in the doorway. Then I'm going to call my lawyer. I want joint custody of Lily. You're being impulsive. At least wait, think this through. I've lost 6 years of my daughter's life because of you. He turned back one last time. I won't lose another day. The drive home was a blur. In his apartment, the one he was supposed to leave tonight for a honeymoon suite, Adam finally read through all the letters. Each one was like a punch to the gut, showing him the parallel life he should have had. His phone buzzed again. A text from Amara with a photo attached. Lily, fast asleep in her bed, clutching a drawing she'd made at the restaurant. 3 stick figures holding hands, a tall one labeled Dad, a medium one labeled Mama, and a small one with butterfly wings labeled Me. Something broke inside him. He pressed his hand to his mouth, tears finally falling as 6 years of lost moments crashed over him. Then he picked up his phone and typed, "What time is the butterfly play? I'll be there. Front row. I promise." Amara's response came quickly. 3 p.m. Thursday. She'll be so happy. He stared at the photo of his sleeping daughter, memorizing every detail of her face. Then he pulled up his email and began to type, "To the board of directors. Effective immediately. I'm taking a leave of absence." The cursor blinked on his screen like a heartbeat. Outside his window, New York City glittered with millions of lights, each one representing a life, a story, a family. Somewhere out there, his daughter was sleeping, dreaming of butterflies. And fathers who kept their promises. This time, he wouldn't let her down. Amara's tiny apartment looked different in the harsh light of morning, as if the events of yesterday had somehow altered its familiar contours. She stood in the kitchen, mechanically packing Lily's lunch while her daughter chattered excitedly at the breakfast table. "And then Dad can come to my parent-teacher conference next month, right? And maybe he can take me to the park, like Jenny's dad does, and... Honey?" Amara set down the sandwich she was wrapping. "Remember what we talked about? We need to take things slow." But Lily's enthusiasm couldn't be dampened. "He already promised to come to my play, and he texted you good morning today. I saw it on your phone." Amara's hand instinctively went to her pocket, where her phone sat, heavy with Adam's messages. Each one was carefully worded, respectful of boundaries she hadn't even voiced yet. But she could feel the urgency behind them, the desperate desire to make up for lost time. A knock at the door made them both jump. Amara's heart raced, but no, Adam wouldn't just show up unannounced, would he? It was Regina from next door, holding up the morning's newspaper. "Girl, you're on page 6. Amara's stomach dropped as she saw the headline, "Carter Wedding Disaster, Secret Love Child Reveals All." Below was a grainy photo of Lily running down the aisle, and a smaller one of Amara in her work uniform. "I need to get Lily to school," she said, trying to hand the paper back. Keep it. Regina's eyes were sympathetic. You should know what they're saying. And honey, you might want to check your voicemail. Marcus called me when he couldn't reach you. The restaurant's been getting calls all morning from reporters. Perfect. Just perfect. After dropping Lily at school, thankfully reporter-free, Amara sat in her car, finally reading the article. It was a mix of fact and fiction, quoting anonymous sources about her supposed plot to trap Adam, about Margaret Carter's efforts to protect the family name, about Emily Dawson's heartbreak. Her phone buzzed. Adam. Have you seen it? He asked without preamble. The article? Just now? I'm so sorry, my lawyer's already demanding a retraction, but Adam, she cut him off. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Lily doesn't need to be in the middle of a media circus. I know. That's part of why I'm calling. I've taken a leave of absence from the company. You what? I need to focus on what's important, on Lily, on making this right, he paused, and I've been thinking about her school play. What about it? Maybe we could get lunch afterward, all three of us. I know you want to take things slow, but I need to get to work. But she didn't hang up. Marcus called me too, Adam said quietly. He suggested you take some time off until the media attention dies down, with full pay, of course. I don't need your money, Adam. It's not my money. It's Marcus being decent. Please, Amara, just think about it. After hanging up, she sat in her car, remembering another morning 6 years ago. She'd been so sick with morning sickness, but still dragged herself to work, terrified of losing her job. If she'd known then what would happen, that Adam had never received her letters, that his mother had orchestrated their separation, would she have tried harder to reach him? But that was the past. The present was complicated enough. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Adam. I've asked the school to handle any press. Private security will be there for the play. Lily won't even know. She started to type, that's not necessary, but stopped, because it was necessary now. Their quiet life had been blown wide open, and she needed to accept that things would never be the same. At home, she finally listened to her voicemail. Reporters, mostly. A tearful message from Mrs. Wilson, apologizing for her migraine yesterday. If I'd been able to watch Lily, none of this would have happened. A formal-sounding woman, identifying herself as Adam's lawyer, wanting to discuss custody arrangements. Custody. The word made her hands shake. She walked into Lily's room, sitting on the small bed. The box Adam had mentioned was under it, their special treasure box, as Lily called it. Inside were the few photos she'd kept of Adam, along with Lily's baby pictures, first tooth, hospital, bracelet, and at the bottom a dried rose from their last date before he left for London. Her phone buzzed with another text from Adam. The lawyer's just procedural. We do everything at your pace, I promise. She started to respond, but another message came through. I found her birth certificate in the letters. October 12th, 3:17 a.m. 6 B's 9 O's. I've memorized every detail. Tears blurred her vision. She typed back, she had your eyes from the moment she was born. His response came quickly. Tell me more, please. So she did. Sitting in Lily's room, surrounded by stuffed animals and butterfly drawings, she typed out the story of their daughter's birth. How scared she'd been, how the nurse had held her hand, how tiny Lily had looked in her arms. She sent him a photo, and from the box, Lily's first smile captured on a disposable camera. She's perfect, he wrote back. You did an amazing job, Amara. I know I keep saying it, but I'm so sorry I wasn't there. You're here now, she found herself responding. That's what matters to her. A notification popped up, another news alert about the Carter wedding scandal. Reality intruding again. She got up, putting the box away. Through the window, she could see Regina's kids playing in the building's small courtyard. This had been enough for them, this simple life. Now everything was changing, and she wasn't sure if she was ready. But then her phone buzzed one last time. A photo from Adam. He'd framed Lily's butterfly drawing from yesterday, and it was sitting on what looked like an executive desk. The caption read, "My new office decoration, far better than any merger contract." Despite everything, she smiled, because ready or not, change had arrived, and maybe, just maybe, it wasn't all bad. The elementary school auditorium hummed with pre-performance energy. Parents clutched bouquets and cameras, while behind the curtain, the excited whispers of children dressed as various insects created a gentle buzz. Adam arrived 20 minutes early, his suit slightly rumpled from a morning of meetings with his lawyer. He hesitated at the entrance, suddenly unsure of protocol. Should he save seats? Wait for Amara? A text solved his dilemma. "We're in the third classroom on the right. Lily wants to see you before the show." He found them in a cheerful room decorated with student artwork. Lily sat on a tiny chair, resplendent in sparkly wings and antennae that bobbed when she moved. Her face lit up when she saw him. "Dad, you came!" She launched herself at him, careful not to crush her wings. "Of course I did." He knelt to her level. "I wouldn't miss it for anything." Amara stood by the teacher's desk, looking elegant in a simple blue dress. Their eyes met over Lily's head, and something unspoken passed between them. "Look what I made you!" Lily pulled away to grab something from her backpack. It was a construction paper butterfly, decorated with an enthusiasm for glitter that only a 6-year-old could muster. "It's for your office, next to my other picture." Adam's throat tightened. "It's beautiful. I'll put it up as soon as I get back." "Are you crying?" Lily asked, concerned. No, he quickly wiped his eyes. "Just got some glitter in them." A harried-looking teacher appeared in the doorway. "5 minutes, everyone. Butterflies, line up, please." Lily hugged them both, then scampered off to join her classmates. Adam stood, brushing glitter from his knees. "She's been practicing her lines all week," Amara said softly. "Even in her sleep, I heard her muttering about metamorphosis." They walked together to the auditorium, maintaining a careful distance. But as they entered, Adam noticed the whispers, the pointing phones, the recognition spreading through the crowd. He'd insisted on no press, but in the age of social media, everyone was press. "Here." He guided Amara to 2 seats in the front row, where a subtle security presence kept others at a distance. "I hope this is okay. I didn't want to overwhelm her." "Thank you." Amara sat, smoothing her dress. "For thinking of her first." The lights dimmed, and a teacher stepped out to introduce the play, a musical about the life cycle of butterflies. The curtain rose to reveal a group of children dressed as eggs, Lily among them, curled up in a ball. As the play progressed, Adam found himself holding his breath at each of Lily's lines. She delivered them perfectly, her face serious with concentration, as she emerged from her chrysalis and spread her wings for the first time. "In science class, we learned about metamorphosis," she proclaimed, only stumbling slightly over the big word. "It means changing from one thing into another, like magic." Adam felt Amara shift beside him, and without thinking, he reached for her hand. She stiffened but didn't pull away. "Our Lily," he whispered, and felt her fingers tighten around his. After the final bow, they waited while Lily changed out of her costume. Other parents gave them a wide berth, though phones continued to appear whenever they thought they were being subtle. "Ice cream?" Lily bounded out of the classroom, wings now carefully packed away. "Can we get ice cream, please?" Adam looked at Amara, letting her take the lead. "Well," she pretended to consider it, "I suppose you did learn all those big science words." "Yes." Lily grabbed both their hands. "Can we go to Sweeties? They have butterfly sprinkles." The ice cream parlor was only a few blocks away, but it felt like walking through a gauntlet. Adam noticed at least 3 people taking photos, and a woman who definitely looked like a reporter trying to approach them. Inside Sweetie's, the teenage server's eyes went wide with recognition. But one look from Amara had her focusing solely on Lily's elaborate order. "Chocolate chip with butterfly sprinkles and extra hot fudge, please." They sat in a booth by the window, Lily between them, chattering about the play and her friends, and how Jenny forgot her lines, but it was okay, because butterflies don't really talk anyway. "Dad, did you see when I came out of my chrysalis? I practiced that spin for days and days. You were perfect." Adam watched as she attacked her ice cream with enthusiasm. "A natural butterfly." "Just like her father," Amara said quietly. At his questioning look, she added, "Always ready to spread your wings and fly away." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. But before Adam could respond, Lily piped up. "Mama says butterflies always know their way home. Is that true?" "Some do," Adam said carefully. "Monarch butterflies make incredible journeys every year, always returning to the same places." "Like you came back to us?" The simple question hit him like a physical blow. He looked at Amara, seeing his own emotion reflected in her eyes. "Yes," he said finally, "exactly like that." A camera flash from outside the window broke the moment. Adam started to rise, but Amara's hand on his arm stopped him. "Let them look," she said. "We're not doing anything wrong." So they stayed, finishing their ice cream, while Lily drew patterns in her melted hot fudge and told them about the science project she had coming up next week. It was almost normal, almost ordinary, except for the way his heart squeezed every time Lily called him Dad, except for the electricity that shot through him when Amara's hand brushed his reaching for a napkin. As they left the ice cream parlor, Lily skipping between them, Adam realized something. This wasn't just about making up for lost time anymore. This was about creating new time, new memories, new moments that belonged solely to them. "Next week," he said as they reached Amara's car, "maybe we could—" "One step at a time," Amara reminded him gently, but she was smiling as she helped Lily into her car seat. "Dad," Lily called from the window, "will you put my butterfly picture right next to the other one?" "Promise." He touched her cheek through the open window, "right where I can see it every day." As he watched them drive away, his phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "You're all over social media. Think about what you're doing." He looked at the construction paper butterfly in his hand, covered in enough glitter to supply a craft store, and typed back, "I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about it every second of every day." Then he muted her number and pulled up the photos he'd taken at the play, his daughter spreading her wings for the first time, ready to fly. And this time he'd be there to catch her if she fell. The lawyer's office felt too small for the emotions it contained. Amara sat on one side of the polished conference table, Adam on the other, while their respective attorneys exchanged carefully worded proposals about custody arrangements. The wall clock ticked loudly in the silence following the latest suggestion. "Joint physical custody seems premature," Amara's lawyer, Patricia Chen, said firmly. "Mr. Carter has only known Lily for 2 weeks. "My client is her father," Adam's lawyer countered. "He has rights, which he seems eager to exercise after 6 years of absence," Patricia noted. "An absence that was not my choice," Adam interrupted, his voice tight. "Amara, you know that." Amara stared at the custody agreement draft before her. The words blurred together. Visitation schedules, holiday arrangements, educational decisions. How had they gotten here? Just yesterday, it seemed, they were sharing ice cream after the school play. But then the paparazzi photos had appeared in the tabloids. "Carter Air plays Happy Family." The comments online had been brutal, speculating about Amara's motives, about whether Lily was really Adam's, about whether Emily Dawson would sue for emotional damages. Perhaps, Patricia suggested, we should start with supervised visitation. No, Amara's voice surprised even her. He doesn't need supervision. He's her father. Adam's eyes met hers across the table, full of gratitude and something more. Then let's discuss the financial arrangements, his lawyer began. I don't want his money. Ms. Johnson, Patricia touched her arm, think about Lily's future. Private school, college. May we have the room? Adam asked suddenly. Just Amara and me? The lawyers exchanged glances, then nodded. When the door closed behind them, silence fell. Remember our first date? Adam asked unexpectedly. What? That little Italian place in the village. You insisted on splitting the check. Despite herself, Amara smiled. You were so offended. I was fascinated. He leaned forward. You've always been fiercely independent, Amara. It's one of the things He caught himself. One of the things I admired about you. But this isn't about us. It's about Lily. I know that. Then let me do this. Not because you need my money, but because she deserves everything I can give her, including making up for all the child support I should have been paying these past 6 years. Amara's phone buzzed. A text from Regina. Turn on channel 7 now. Adam's phone chimed at the same moment. His face darkened as he read the message. It's my mother, he said. She's giving an interview. They found a TV in the break room. Margaret. Carter sat perfectly poised in what looked like a morning show studio, her expression concerned and maternal. Of course, we're overjoyed to discover we have a grandchild, she was saying, but one has to question the timing. Why didn't this young woman come forward years ago? Why wait until Adam was about to make an advantageous marriage? That manipulative... Adam started for the door. Wait! Amara caught his arm. Where are you going? To stop her, to tell the truth. And feed the media frenzy even more? Adam, think about Lily. She starts first grade in 2 weeks. Do you want her classmates' parents seeing us fight this out on television? He deflated slightly, but his jaw remained tight. She's painting you as a gold digger. I don't care what she says about me. But her voice shook slightly. I care about our daughter. The words hung between them. We need to get ahead of this, Adam said finally. Not with interviews or statements, but with actions. Let me look at private schools, ones with experience handling high-profile families. Let me set up a trust fund for her. Not because I'm trying to buy my way in, but because I want to give her every advantage I can. Amara sank into a chair. She loves her current school. Her friends are there. Where she'll now be known as the girl from the tabloids. He knelt beside her chair. At least look at the options with me, please? Before she could respond, both their phones buzzed again. A message from Lily's teacher. Media vans outside. School. Lily's fine, but concerned parents are calling. God! Amara pressed her hands to her face. This is exactly what I didn't want. I know. Adam's voice was soft. But we can't hide from it. We can only try to control it. She looked at him then, really looked at him. He seemed tired, his usual polished appearance slightly frayed around the edges, fighting battles on all fronts with his mother, his board of directors, the press. Okay, she said finally, show me the schools, but I have conditions. Name them. We decide together about everything, schools, activities, schedules. She took a deep breath. We need to be a united front, Adam. For her sake, agreed. He stood, offering his hand. Partners? She took it, ignoring the familiar spark at his touch. Partners. They called the lawyers back in, and Amara listened with new attention as they discussed terms. But her mind kept drifting to another conversation 6 years ago, in a little Italian restaurant. They'd talked about dreams then, his to revolutionize his family's company, hers to open her own catering business someday. Simple dreams before life got complicated. Her phone buzzed one more time. A photo from Lily's teacher, her daughter at her desk, completely absorbed in drawing something. The caption read, "Working on another butterfly for Dad's office." Amara showed it to Adam, watching his face soften as he looked at the picture. Whatever came next, custody agreements, school changes, trust funds, family drama, they'd handle it. For the little girl who saw butterflies everywhere and believed in second chances. Partners, she repeated softly, and meant it. The principal's office was eerily quiet after Lily's tears. She sat between Adam and Amara now, hiccuping softly, her small hands clutching both of theirs. Principal Matthews looked uncomfortable behind her desk, glancing between the three of them. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for fighting," she began. "She didn't start it," Adam said, his voice controlled but tight. "From what you've told us—" "Dad," Lily's voice was small, "I pushed her, even if she said mean things I shouldn't have pushed." Amara squeezed her daughter's hand. An hour ago, she'd been in a meeting with her new catering clients, her first step toward rebuilding her career after leaving Le Petit Jardin, when the school called. She'd arrived to find Adam already there, having left a board meeting the moment his phone rang. "Perhaps," Principal Matthews said carefully, "we should discuss this without Lily present." A teaching assistant led Lily out, leaving her parents to face the principal. Through the office window, Amara could see reporters gathering at the school gates. Word traveled fast in New York. "Sandra Palmer's mother claims Lily attacked her daughter unprovoked," Principal Matthews began. "That's not what the other children said," Adam interrupted. "They heard Sandra telling Lily that her mother was a—" He stopped, his jaw clenching. "A gold digger," Amara finished quietly. "That's what she called me, isn't it? Wonder where a first grader learned that term." The principal shifted uncomfortably. "Mrs. Palmer has been vocal about her concerns regarding Lily's presence in the class. Several other parents have expressed similar worries about the media attention. So, my daughter should be punished because other parents read tabloids." Adam stood, pacing the small office. "This is exactly why we looked at private schools." "We agreed to try this first," Amara reminded him, "to let her stay with her friends." "Some friends." He ran a hand through his hair. "Did you see her face, Amara? She's 6 years old. She shouldn't have to deal with this." Principal Matthews cleared her throat. "While we cannot condone physical violence, given the circumstances, we are recommending a 1-day suspension rather than our usual 3 days. "How generous," Adam muttered. "What about Sandra?" Amara asked. "What consequences does she face?" "For bullying, we'll be having a separate conversation with the Palmers." The principal's tone suggested the matter was closed. "Now, about the reporters, I'll handle them." Adam's voice was steel. "But I want it on record that if anything like this happens again, if any child or parent makes my daughter feel unwelcome in this school, there will be consequences." Outside the office, Lily sat with the teaching assistant, looking smaller than usual in her rumpled school uniform. When she saw them, her lower lip trembled. "Am I in very big trouble?" Amara knelt before her. "No, baby, but we need to talk about better ways to handle mean people. Like counting to 10, Lily sniffled, "or using my words." "Exactly." Adam joined them, his anger softening as he looked at his daughter. "Though personally, I think she deserved the push." "Adam!" But Amara was fighting a smile. They left through a side door, avoiding the reporters. In the parking lot, they faced another dilemma. 2 cars, 3 people, and a daughter who didn't want to let go of either parent's hand. "Ice cream?" Adam suggested. "I think we could all use some butterfly sprinkles right now." At Sweetie's, now their unofficial family meeting spot, Lily's mood improved with each spoonful of chocolate chip. The teenager behind the counter, used to them now, had even added extra sprinkles. "Jenny said she wants to come to my new school too," Lily announced between bites. Amara nearly dropped her spoon. "What?" "When I told her about the pretty library at Brighton Day School, from when we visited last week, she said it looked like Hogwarts." Adam met Amara's eyes across the table. They hadn't discussed the private school option with Lily yet, wanting to wait until they'd made a decision. "Honey," Amara said carefully, "we haven't decided about changing schools." "But I want to go." Lily put down her spoon. "Sandra's mean, and the reporters are scary, and Brighton has a science lab with real butterflies." "Real butterflies?" Adam raised an eyebrow at Amara. "You didn't mention that part." "It's their life science program." Despite herself, Amara smiled. "They raise monarchs every spring." "See," Lily bounced in her seat. "It's perfect. And Jenny can visit, and I can make new friends who don't care about stupid magazines." Out of the mouths of babes, Amara thought. They'd been so worried about disrupting Lily's life, they hadn't considered that she might want a fresh start, too. "We'll think about it," she said finally. "That's parent code for yes," Lily stage whispered to Adam. He laughed, reaching across to wipe ice cream from her chin. "When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. I get it from Mama." "Yes," Adam said softly, looking at Amara. "You certainly do." Later, after Lily had fallen asleep in Adam's car on the way home, they'd finally agreed to take one car. Amara stood in her apartment parking lot, watching him gently transfer their daughter to her arms. "Brighton starts their new term in 3 weeks," he said quietly. "I know." She adjusted Lily's weight. "The tuition is not your concern, Adam. Partners, remember?" He touched Lily's hair softly. "Let me do this. Not because you need it, but because she deserves it. A fresh start for all of us." Amara looked at their sleeping daughter, her face peaceful now after the stress of the day. No more reporters at the gates, no more whispers in the hallways, no more having to be stronger than any 6-year-old should need to be. "Okay," she said. "But I'm packing her lunch every day. Those fancy cafeteria meals are ridiculous." "Deal." He smiled, then hesitated. "Amara, thank you for calling me today, for letting me be there. You're her father. It's where you should be." She carried Lily inside, tucking her into bed, still in her school clothes. On the bedside table sat the family photo from the ice cream parlor 2 weeks ago, the one that had caused such a stir in the media. But Lily didn't see the scandal they'd made of it. She just saw her parents together, smiling over ice cream and butterfly sprinkles. Maybe, Amara thought, they should all try to see it through her eyes. Brighton Day School gleamed in the September sunshine, its red brick walls and ivy-covered facades a world away from Lily's old public school. Amara stood in the manicured courtyard, watching parents in luxury cars drop off children in crisp, new uniforms. 2 months ago, this would have felt like entering another universe. Now somehow she was part of it. "Mama, look!" Lily twirled in her new plaid jumper and knee socks. "I matched the building." Adam parked his car and joined them, carrying Lily's new backpack, chosen specifically because it had butterfly patches that she'd added herself. The 3 of them had spent an entire Saturday customizing it, ending up covered in fabric paint and glitter. The memory of Adam Carter, corporate titan with glitter in his hair, still made Amara smile. "Ready for your first day?" he asked Lily. "Ready!" But she gripped both their hands tighter. They walked her to her classroom together, other parents politely pretending not to stare at the family that had dominated gossip columns all summer. Lily's new teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, greeted them warmly. I see someone's already discovered. Our butterfly garden, she said, noting the drawings peeking out of Lily's folder. You can see it from the library window. Lily's nervousness faded as she launched into butterfly facts. Did you know monarchs can fly 3,000 miles? That's like going to California. Why don't you tell your new classmates about that during morning circle? Ms. Rodriguez suggested. I think Joey brought in a book about butterflies today too. Lily's face lit up. She hugged them both quickly, then skipped into the classroom. Without looking back, in the hallway, Amara released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. She'll be okay? Of course she will. Adam touched her elbow lightly. She's your daughter. Our daughter, she corrected automatically, then saw his smile. They walked together toward the parking lot, neither rushing despite the workday ahead. Adam had gradually returned to his company duties, though he'd refused to retake his vice president position, preferring a role that allowed him more flexibility. Amara's catering business was slowly growing, her reputation for discretion with high-profile clients offsetting any tabloid notoriety. I've been thinking, Adam said as they reached their cars, about the parent association meetings. What about them? Maybe we should attend together, present a united front. Amara raised an eyebrow. You want to sit through discussions about bake sales and fundraisers? I want to be involved. He leaned against his car. In everything, the small things, not just the emergencies. Like the Halloween Carnival Planning Committee? Exactly. His eyes twinkled. I make an excellent booth volunteer. Adam Carter, manning the ring toss, now that I'd pay to see. Have dinner with me. The words hung in the autumn air between them. Amara's smile faded. Adam. Just dinner. To discuss Lily's adjustment to school. The Halloween Carnival. Whatever you want. We discuss Lily over text all the time. True, he stepped closer, but I miss talking to you. Really talking, not just coordinating schedules and school supplies. A bell rang inside the school, signaling the start of classes. Through the library window, they could see Lily in her classroom, already deep in conversation with a boy who must be Joey, their heads bent over a book. She's happy, Amara said softly. She is. Adam's voice was equally quiet. But what about you, Amara? Are you happy? The question caught her off guard. These past months had been so focused on Lily, her needs, her adjustment, her happiness. When was the last time Amara had thought about her own? She paused. I'm getting there. Have dinner with me, he said again. Friday. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who share the most important thing in the world, talking. A group of late parents hurried past them into the school. One mother did a double-take, clearly recognizing them, but something in their stance made her hurry on without speaking. The media's finally dying down, Amara said. If we're seen together, then they'll see two parents who are successfully co-parenting. He smiled. Unless there's another reason you're hesitating. There were dozens of reasons, the way her heart still skipped, the fear of letting him close again, only to lose him to his world of board meetings and social obligations. But there were other memories now too. Adam on the floor of his office, helping Lily with her science project. Adam showing up at every school event, no matter how small. Adam facing down his mother's disapproval to be the father their daughter deserved. Okay, she heard herself say. Dinner, but somewhere quiet. I know just the place. His smile widened. That little Italian restaurant in the village still has the same chef. Adam, too much. But his eyes were soft. We can go somewhere else. Her phone buzzed. A photo from Ms. Rodriguez. Lily at the front of the class, enthusiastically, explaining something about butterflies. her hands painting pictures in the air, just like her father did when he was excited about an idea. "No," Amara said finally. "The Italian place is perfect." She got into her car before she could change her mind, but through the window she saw Adam's expression, a mix of hope and wonder that made him look young again, like the man who had once promised to come back from London in 2 weeks. As she drove to her first client meeting of the day, another photo came through from Ms. Rodriguez. Lily in the school's butterfly garden during morning break, showing her new friends how to spot monarch chrysalises. "She's a natural leader," the teacher wrote, "just like her parents." Amara smiled, thinking of Friday night. Maybe Lily wasn't the only one ready for a new chapter. Maybe sometimes the most beautiful transformations happened not inside a chrysalis, but in the open air, under autumn sunlight, with a second chance at something that was lost but never forgotten. The little Italian restaurant hadn't changed. The same red-checkered tablecloths, the same candles flickering in wine bottles, the same scent of garlic and basil in the air. Amara sat across from Adam at their old corner table, a half-empty bottle of wine between them. Outside, the first snow of winter dusted the village streets. She said, "What?" Adam leaned forward, laughing. "I'm serious." Amara took a sip of wine. "Right in the middle of the parent-teacher conference. Ms. Rodriguez, did you know my parents are in love again?" "Out of the mouths of babes." Adam's eyes held hers, though I'm not sure about the again part. "Oh, can't be again if it never really stopped." 3 months had passed since their first dinner here. 3 months of careful steps forward, of rediscovering each other in the spaces between parent association meetings and school pickups. Tonight marked something special, Lily's first sleepover at her new best friend Emma's house, giving them a rare evening truly alone. "I saw my mother today," Adam said, his tone shifting. "At the company holiday party." Amara tensed. Margaret. Carter had been notably absent from their lives these past months, her only contact being the occasional formal gift for Lily, each one returned unopened. She asked about Lily's Christmas break. Adam twisted his wine glass. "About whether we might consider letting her—" "No," Amara's voice was firm. "Not after what she did. I told her the same thing, but then she said something that surprised me." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out an envelope, aged and creased. "She gave me this. Said it was the last letter she kept from you." Amara's breath caught. "I remember that one. I wrote it the day after Lily was born. I haven't read it yet. I wanted— Would you read it to me?" With trembling fingers, Amara opened the envelope. Her own handwriting, younger and shakier, filled the page. "Dear Adam, our daughter was born yesterday. She has your eyes and my smile, and when she looks at me, I see all the dreams we once shared. I know you're gone, know you've moved on, but I want you to know this. She will be loved. Every day of her life, she will know she comes from love, even if that love is now just a memory. I named her Lily, after those flowers you brought me on our first date. Remember? You said they reminded you of new beginnings. That's what she is, my new beginning, and somehow holding her. I can't regret anything that led me here. I won't write again after this. Your mother made it clear I'm not part of your future. But if you ever read this, know that your daughter will grow up, strong and kind and full of— Adam's hand found hers across the table. 6 years, he said softly. We lost 6 years. But look what we've found. Amara squeezed his fingers. Did you see her face at the school play last week, when you brought her those lilies? Like sunshine breaking through clouds. He smiled. She gets that from you, you know, that ability to light up a room. She gets her grand gestures from you. The way she convinced her entire class to create that butterfly sanctuary proposal? Pure Johnson determination. Pure Carter. A charm. They laughed together, the sound familiar and new all at once. Outside, the snow fell harder, turning the village into a wonderland. "Move in with me," Adam said suddenly. "What?" "Not to my place, somewhere new, a home we choose together." His eyes were serious now. "I know it's fast, but haven't we waited long enough?" "Adam, think about it. Lily could have her own room to decorate. God knows she has enough butterfly designs drawn up. There's a townhouse near Brighton with a garden, room for a proper home office for your catering business, space for all of us to grow. People will talk. People already talk." He lifted their joined hands, kissing her knuckles. "Let them. We know the truth, that sometimes the longest road leads you right back home." Amara's phone buzzed. A photo from Emma's mother. Lily and Emma in their pajamas, surrounded by books about butterflies, both grinning at the camera. "They're planning to open a butterfly sanctuary when they grow up," the text read. "Lily says her parents will help because they believe in following your dreams." "She's right, you know," Adam said, reading the message over her shoulder. "I do believe in following dreams, especially the ones that take 6 years to come true." Amara looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had walked back into her life by accident and stayed by choice. The father who made up for lost time, not with grand gestures, but with daily dedication, the love she'd never quite managed to forget. "Yes," she said, "yes to the townhouse, the garden, all of it." She smiled. "But I have one condition." "Name it." "We plant butterfly bushes, lots of them." His answering smile was brighter than the candles between them. "I think that can be arranged." Later that night, walking hand in hand through the snowy streets, they passed a closed flower shop. In the window, a single lily bloomed unseasonably, its white petals luminous against the darkness. "New beginnings," Adam murmured, echoing words from long ago. Amara leaned into him, thinking of their daughter sleeping across town, of the home they would build together, of the love that had never really ended, but simply waited, like a butterfly in its chrysalis, for the right moment to emerge. "No," she said softly, "not new beginnings, just finding our way back to where we were always meant to be." Above them, the snow fell like stars, blanketing the city in possibility. And somewhere in the distance, a clock struck midnight, marking not an ending, but a continuation, the next chapter in a story that had started 6 years ago with a letter, a love, and a little girl who believed in second chances. The end. That was a beautiful story, wasn't it? I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel.